And yeah, we
This
hope
is
we
our
can make
short
it.
rest.
Yeah, short
We're trying to make
rest.
this a thing.
Short rest during these very turbulent and weird times, no doubt.
Hmm.
But a short rest nonetheless. And we have this amazing guest on today. We have a Jake Nelson, who I'm really excited to have on the show. Jake, why don't you just kind of give a small introduction for us of kind of who you are, um, and we'll kind of hop into it as Spence and I will, of course, grill you on everything Relics.
Sure, yeah. So I am a writer on Relics, a Game of Angels by Tin Star Games, the project led by Steve D, which is out in PDF now. If you were a Kickstarter back, you may have seen it arriving in your inboxes. The book is gorgeous. Matt Roberts, our layout, did a really, really good job. And Lois, the other proofreader, and I, Lois led the charge. I helped out, and it's really, really clean. And when the hardcover books come back from the printers, it'll be cleaner still. So it's a work of art, that core book. And so I've worked on the core book. I've worked on the new supplement that's coming out, An Angel's Guide to Las Vegas, which builds on the Devil's Own Luck, which is the quick start adventure for Relics that was released around the time of the Kickstarter, I think, if not slightly before. Um, I know that you, Mitchell, have
Mm-hmm.
run through the Devil's Own Luck a few times on this channel, um, so it's good to see. It's good to see. Good and surreal to see one's adventure being played on a live stream.
I bet.
Um, also, one other thing. Surely this is more like a period of downtime rather than a short rest, because a short rest is an hour.
Yeah, I mean, true. But also, there were many things that we could have called it, and short rest seemed the most appropriate.
We're trying to keep it positive. Everything positive.
Fingers crossed, it only lasts an hour.
Yeah. So for those watching, I'm just going to kind of play a little thing for you, just showing off some of the cool aspects you'll see in Relics. Of course, Steve D helped create this amazing role playing game that is currently out on Drive Through RPG. So super excited to kind of finally have the copy, because it was sometime last year when it was successfully kickstarted. And of course, since then, there has been some challenges, but everything looks great as we can finally see the PDF, and super excited about the hardcover eventually coming up, and the tarot deck, which was just released the other day, for people to check out, love, and adore. I know for me, I will be sad to put away my Angels tarot deck, which is somewhere around here, but nonetheless, it's amazing. But Jake, you helped out specifically with that quick start guide, among other things. Having it in Las Vegas, Sin City, it might be kind of apparent why you chose it for some, but for those who don't, including me, why did you choose Las Vegas as kind of like the opening scene for Relics the game?
So, Relics, one of the core structures for a scenario in Relics is the heist, um, where there is a relic that someone has found, um, and you need to break into a place and get it. And about the time when Steve was, looking to me to write the Quick Start adventure, which premiered actually at a con. Um, Couple years ago. So that underwent some refinement as well. But around that time, I was thinking, okay, what kind of heists? What kind of heist is sort of iconic and emblematic? And I just recently listened to an episode, a special of The Adventure Zone, which involved a heist in a casino, and I thought, yeah, no, casino heist. I'd really enjoyed that episode, and so that was sort of the trigger that made me think of a casino heist. And so big glitzy heist on a Las Vegas casino that wasn't there yesterday seemed like a really good sort of set piece to introduce people to the sorts of scenarios that you would find in Relics. And so, going into the Angel's Guide to Las Vegas, which will be out soon, that was sort of I figured I'd already written an adventure set in Vegas. I decided to build on that and explore more of Sin City, as it's called. Um, Bit of a fun behind the scenes developers fact for you. The Inferno Casino from that adventure was originally called Mammon's Palace, which I found a bit too bland. And so I settled on the
Yeah.
Inferno as the final name, which I think works better.
I like it. Yeah.
So for people who are not familiar with Relic, me, what is the premise of the game?
So in Relics, you play a fallen angel, an angel who has descended to Earth, and falling in Relics is not a punishment. I always say it's not that you did a naughty and God kicked you out of heaven. Falling is a choice that an angel makes to become of this earth,
Mhm.
to descend and to create a physical vessel and a human semblance that sits over it and interact directly with creation.
Huh.
For the longest time, when an angel fell, all of their powers were bound to them in their relics. Their supernal miracles that they used to create and shape the world were all locked away inside their relics. But a couple of years ago, the gates of heaven suddenly closed and God disappeared. Where did she go? No one knows. Why did she leave? No one knows. Is she coming back? Signs point to no. And so, in her absence, all of the old relics are now starting to wake up, and the angels and the demons are regaining their miraculous powers. And so a supernatural arms race is beginning to grab as many relics as possible before the other side does, because now the war is turning hot again, and battlefield and the prize both are creation itself.
I like that. So basically, angels are exerting their free will to fall, which is the gift that was not given to them, but was given to man. That's kind of cool.
Oh yeah, it's very
Yeah, so
interesting.
falling is falling binds an angel to the earth. Once an angel fell, there was no real coming back. Like
Mhm.
before the gates of heaven closed, and earlier than that, before God fixed her canon against angels interfering, angels could go back and forth. But once an angel fell, actually took on a physical vessel and a semblance, and gained a relic, that was it.
Mhm.
Now, angels hoped that maybe there was a way back home anyway, but then the gates of heaven closed, and that has increasingly become clear that it's a lot less of an option,
Mhm.
even than it was before, when it wasn't an option at all.
Yeah.
Cool.
And now the war is on.
Yes.
So you said that it's kind of surreal to see the quick start guide that you wrote being played, but you also wrote an actual story for it as well. Um, can you tell us about that?
So I've written actually several pieces of
Mhm.
fiction
Mhm.
from the core book. So those are the ones that appear. Oh goodness, let me try to remember chapters. There's the one with Rama.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That appears, I believe, at the end of chapter 1. Ironheart and Ure, they appear again, I believe, at the end of chapter 2. And then at the end of chapter 6, there is a story with Amenset. So Ironheart, Ure, and Amenset, all pre-generated characters that featured in the Quick Start adventure. So 3, as I recall correctly, pieces of fiction in the core book are my work, and I've also quite a few of my characters have actually become sort of important canonically
Mhm.
in the world of Relics. Like Armenset is one of the more powerful and prominent members of the Helm of Salvation,
Mhm.
which is the mission of angels that believes that an angel's duty, now that God is gone, is to step up and take charge and lead humanity and amass power, earthly power, not for themselves, mind you, but for the good and the betterment of mankind, because angels are the ones who are most equipped to wield it
Yeah.
in the minds of the Helm of Salvation. The other factions would say that's a load of nonsense, but what would they know?
Yeah, exactly.
So Armenset, Rama from the second chapter fiction, or end of first chapter fiction. She has something of a prominent role as well, though I'm not going to spoil what it is. Suffice to say that she is a bit more important than she appears in her initial story.
Mhm.
But all these characters as well, they appear in the tarot. The Relics Tarot, which is now out in print and play. So Armenset the Magician, Rama is Temperance, Ironheart is Strength, Ure is the Hermit. One-Eyed Jack from the Quick Start Adventure is there as well, though he is in the Minor Arcana. Yeah, it's been great to see. To be honest, some of my original characters getting such important roles, because Armenset was actually the first playtest character that I made for Relics way back in the beginning when Steve was first playtesting and designing the system.
Yeah.
So that's the secret. I got in early.
It's always good,
And how mind-blowing is that to see these characters that you come up with on paper and then have somebody do I got to see some of the art and see them like be fleshed out in art.
I always love seeing characters of mine becoming, actually seeing them and getting to see them as I've pictured them in my head, which is why I spend a lot of money on commissioning them sometimes.
That's a great tip. By the way, if you know any artists who like to design characters, give them money and
Yes.
then they will draw up your character.
Yes,
it's amazing how that works.
Don't if you know an artist or you see an artist on Twitter or something that you like, don't just ask them to draw something for you. Just pay them money.
Yeah.
It takes their time and their labor, which is valuable.
It's a great life hack. You go to their commissions page, you pay them the money,
and they'll
it should be in every life hack video that you see.
Yeah.
If money can be exchanged for goods and services, including art.
So have you gotten to play the game like as a player? I think you said you were a play tester for the game.
Yes. So I did play test the game way back in the beginning. I've also played it once or twice at conventions. The scenario by Demons Driven, which is coming out alongside the Angel's Guide. That one's by Steve, but I have gotten to play that one at a convention. That is actually the second part in a trilogy that began with the Devil's Own Luck. And I don't want to give away too many details here, but it is, shall we say, one hell of a trilogy.
Oh, snap, you used the word.
So what was the coolest thing that you realized as you were getting to play, like one of the things that you were able to do as a player?
So there are a lot of cool things. I think one of the coolest things about Relics, and a lot of people come back to this, is the memories system. This getting to shape the backstories of the angels around you and getting to learn more about them through play, and learning more about your own character through play. Your own character perhaps being this unreliable narrator who isn't giving everything away even to you at the start, and as the game unfolds further and as a series unfolds further, finding out more about the person you are playing that maybe you didn't even think about at first, but when it happens, when you're getting this memory, you're like, no, this makes sense. This scans. This is definitely something that would have happened to this persona, I should say.
Yeah. No, I like it. This cat.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's a really interesting mechanic there that can really, I think, suck players in more and make them way more invested.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Definitely, and it's great for building a sense of group solidarity as well, because it is establishing links between all the personas. They all know each other, and they've all had run-ins with each other before, for good or ill. So it's a fantastic way to build a shared history, and it doesn't even it's not like it's even interrupting the flow of the game when that happens, because it's very much in genre for the heist to have a flashback happen right in the middle that explains why something happened. And
Hmm.
some of the greatest moments can come when you're desperately trying to escape, and you can't you don't know if you can drive or not, and another character goes, "Hey, remember that time when you stole that thing from me and drove away in the car that I'd borrowed?" And you can be like, "Yes, yes, I do remember that." And that angel's like, "You never said sorry for that, by the way." Um, so descending into an argument over that car that you borrowed one time, in the middle of a dramatic escape scene, is very much on brand for
Hmm.
Relics and the heist genre.
Definitely.
I've
Uh,
been hijacking the questions, so I'm going to throw it to
yeah.
Mitch.
Absolutely no problem.
So you had the trilogy Devil's Own Luck, which I have run two here on the channel. The third one we're hoping to have sometime later to kind of finish up the whole thing. What was kind of the did you know that it was going to be a trilogy from the get-go, or was it just kind of something you felt as the more you wrote?
Uh, no, so I wrote the Devil's Own Luck, but it was actually Steve who was turning this into a trilogy.
Mhm.
Um, I did sort of, towards the end, I did sort of start seeding in things that could be used, and Steve was like, "Well, I'd probably making more scenarios to follow this up, so you might want to seed a couple of future things like the Inferno chip that
Mhm.
Mammon gives you at the end." I do make mention, oh, if you're running this as part of the trilogy, then stick around to find out, what might become of it in future scenarios.
Yeah.
Um, and so stick around to find out what might come of that in future scenarios. But at the time, I was right. What I was writing was not necessarily the first piece of a trilogy, but just an adventure to bring people into the world of Relics and show what it can do.
Mhm.
So I'm thrilled to see that it's become the first piece of this grand adventure, delving into one of the more gray areas of angelic activity on Earth.
Yeah, definitely. So you previously said you were kind of part of the play testing and stuff like that, and I'm sure you've made like lots of characters. So as I kind of show off this beautiful tarot deck that you guys have made and made available for those who have kickstarted it, can you just tell us like what were some of your favorite character and powers that you put together, and maybe even moments that you've kind of seen while running or playing it?
Well, Amy was the first. Amy will always have a special place in my heart. Um, her whole thing was that she fell to earth in ancient Egypt, and during the reign of this hot up and coming pharaoh Amenhotep the Fourth, and she went to him and was like, "Hey, so all these gods that you've got, there's really only like one. You should look to the sun for inspiration for your god." And then he made it this whole thing, and it was like super embarrassing. He just got so carried away with it, moved the capital, changed his name. It took her ages to clean that up. She hasn't lived that down since then. Um, Ironheart, her whole thing is that she is so focused on charging and killing demons that she's totally unconcerned with her own safety. Um, I think Rama from the fiction, in chapter at the end of chapter one. Um, she her miracle is that she can take someone's pain away
Mhm.
from them and hold it in herself. So like that's her miracle. She can take someone's pain away from them, but she experiences all that pain. And knowing what I now know about her character and who she is, I think that's a very thematically appropriate ability for her. If you want to find out who Rama is and what her deal is, spoilers, chapter 8. When I've been running the game, I think I've been running a game at the moment, and the characters include Marilyn Monroe, who was secretly an angel and also a vampire. That's a thing. The inventor of earthquakes, Pheidippides, the guy who ran the original marathon, Hercules, who was actually a tiny woman whose relic could turn her into Hercules.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and so they've just all been all these great moments where was that? I'm just trying to remember. No, that was in a different game. But I just remembered someone disguising themselves as Frank Sinatra. But that was not in Relics at all. That was in a Monster of the Week game. But definitely Marilyn Monroe. Like when Marilyn got up into the penthouse, Vance was like, "Okay, you got to settle a bet for me. Are you Marilyn Monroe? Are you actually Marilyn Monroe?"
Yeah.
So that was a great moment because I couldn't just have Vance ignore that.
Yeah.
It's Marilyn Monroe, right? You gotta acknowledge that.
Yeah. Marilyn Monroe was an angel, literally an angel who faked her death because angels don't technically need to breathe, and she was very bored with being Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
Another one of my favorite moments actually happened at PAX Australia last year because I cosplayed there as One-Eyed Jack himself.
Oh, I wish we could get a pic of that.
Sorry?
I wish we could get a picture of that.
Do you want a picture of that? I can get you a picture of that right now.
Yeah, send me a picture of that. Continue chatting, and we'll
Absolutely.
put it up for
It's
everyone
on
to check out.
It is on Kickstarter. I will retrieve that for you at the moment. I'll send you a link because I did cosplay One-Eyed Jack himself. But as I was cosplaying him, I saw there was a game of the Devil's Own Luck running, and so I went up and I said hi, and I actually did a bit of voice acting for Vance there as they were coming to the climax of the adventure.
Yeah.
Here we go.
What is the voice of One-Eyed Jack?
So One-Eyed Jack is One-Eyed Jack is one of the cowboys of old. He's been around. He fell at the opening of the frontier, the dawn of the old west, and he roamed the trails. But as the frontier closed, he started to settle down. He started to maybe think that the time of angels was done, and in his mind, the closing of the gates of heaven has only just confirmed that. It's time for angels to go the way of the cowboy, thinks old Jack. And so he spends a lot of his time in Vegas hustling poker up and down the strip. Poker being the game he invented. So between that and the fact that he has no tail, given that his face is incapable of showing any emotion whatsoever, he's worked himself up into quite a formidable force on the circuit.
All right, then.
Love it.
I like it.
Yes, One-Eyed Jack is prominently featured in the Vegas guide as insofar as the Boots of Humility have prominent and influential members, he is probably the most prominent and influential member of the Boots of Humility in Las Vegas, in its supernal underworld, you could say.
Ooh, excellent. Yeah, I'm just putting up so everyone can see this amazingness.
So I actually came up to the table and I did a bit of work as Vance. When they gotten into the penthouse.
Yeah.
And I also jumped in a bit at the end when the Inferno was collapsing around them. So that was fun to and I was very, very, very grateful for the dealer of that game to sort of let me jump in there.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, for people looking, this is the picture. I finally have it up. Enjoy.
I like it. I like it so much. That depth perception must have been weird though, with the eye patch on.
It was interesting. I actually had it flipped up most of the time, and I flipped it down when I could, or to take a picture. But it was an interesting experience wandering around PAX with a giant pair of angel wings and an eye patch. Like, that is a killer combination.
Especially with that hat and everything, looking like a Las Vegas cowboy.
Yeah, I was going for old-timey riverboat gambler because that's
Hmm.
Jack's general aesthetic.
Hmm.
He appears on one of the cards in the tarot, looking a bit more Clark Gable
Yeah,
in that. Um, so look out for him as well.
definitely.
But One-Eyed Jack, the inventor of poker.
Yeah. So you gave me some art earlier for the new supplement that's coming out. That's all about Las Vegas and everything. Can you tell us a little
Yes.
bit more? Like, what will that bring to the table for Relics?
So, with the Angel's Guide to Las Vegas, it is a fully realized setting detailing how the city of sin has been affected by the angels who inhabit it. It was very much inspired by the setting guides that you will
Hmm.
find in the back of New World of Darkness books.
Yeah,
So each of them have, I don't know if it's been repeated in the second editions, but
I
each of them
think
have,
so.
like Vampire has a, they have?
I think so. I've been
Yes.
though recently. I've been reading Masquerade, so I might be thinking of that. But I know I've vaguely recall that in Requiem second edition.
Yeah, well, Requiem had New Orleans, and
Yeah,
Mage, The Awakening had Boston. The one I particularly drew influence from was Changeling the Lost, which is my favorite game in the New World of Darkness
so
line, by the
good,
way.
so good.
Love Changeling, but Miami. Um, so Las Vegas will bring sort of a fully realized setting that you can use to set or kickstart your own chronicles.
Hmm.
Sorry, I say chronicles series, your own series in Relics. Um, and it's a city where there is a lot of simmering tension under the surface between the different angelic missions, because Las Vegas is that most unusual and rare and wondrous thing. It is a city ruled by angels.
Hmm. Ooh, which
Um,
yeah, that's not usually the case in some of these larger cities.
Hmm.
no, it is not, of course, openly ruled by angels. That
Hmm.
would be gauche and dangerous. No, um, I don't want to give too much away, but back during the mob and Rat Pack era, um, the mob was actually backed by demons.
Hmm.
It was, and Vegas, the mob ran Vegas, the demons ran the mob, so the demons, by transitive property, ran Vegas, and it
Yeah.
was a very important earthly stronghold for them. The Sword of Wrath came charging in, as the Sword of Wrath does, to try and dislodge the demons by brute force. Didn't work. And so the Helm of Salvation came along and was like, no, no, this isn't working. Take your hands off it. Let us handle this.
Hmm.
And so the Helm, under the guidance actually of Armenset herself, set about working within the system, working within mortal systems, and whispering in the right ears to break the spine of the mob. And in doing so, break the spine of the horde in Vegas.
Hmm.
And they actually did that. They chased the demons out. When Steve Wynn and Howard Hughes and all these big entrepreneurs came in. Side note: Howard Hughes, there was a man who could fill an entire book. Um, when all of these, big Wall Street, big money investors came in and basically bought Vegas out from under the mob, um, the Helm was now kind of the power behind the throne, which is exactly where they like to be. But Vegas is Vegas, and nothing in Vegas is real, and that includes a lot of what the Helm has been saying. And so the Helm doesn't have quite as strong a lid on everything as they want everyone else to think.
Hmm.
And so all the other missions are sort of vying beneath them, the Sword of Wrath in particular. Um, but some of them are starting to see the cracks in the smoke and mirrors edifice that the Helm has built. Um, and there's a lot of stochastic diabolism going on in Vegas as well. And the humans are starting to sniff around, and sharks are circling. And it's a very interesting and volatile situation, which to begin a series of relics.
Sounds like it. It's definitely it sounds like a supplement that's going to be full of a lot of amazing story hooks and will there be like NPCs? What's kind of like
Yes.
the I guess the layout of this book?
So the layout of the Angel's Guide to Las Vegas is again very similar to the layout that you'd find in
Hmm.
these New World of Darkness books. So you've got an intro to Vegas. There's a bit of intro fiction, by the way, starring One-Eyed Jack.
Nice.
Um, So you've got intro fiction, you've got a bit of an introduction to Vegas itself, what the theme and mood of the city is.
Mhm.
So the theme of Vegas is artifice. This idea of constructing your own reality and nothing truly being real. Because
Yeah.
I've been to Vegas, it is nuts.
Did you go
They've
to
got.
Vegas for Relics or just for yourself?
I went to Vegas for my other job at the time. There was
Mhm.
a conference there, but I was in the middle of writing the quick start and everything, and so it was an insane experience. But nothing there is real.
Mhm.
Nothing is real in Vegas. So artifice is the theme. The mood of Vegas is risk and uncertainty, because of course it is. Um, there's a guide to Vegas geography, so knowing basically the areas of the city where important features are. There's a guide to just a quick rundown of what it's like as a glance, so climate, economy, population. Um, there's a whistle stop tour of the mortal history of Vegas. Then we get into the angelic history of the city. What was really happening while all the mortals were scurrying about. Um, there's a guide to Vegas today. So where each of the different angelic missions stands, what's going on with the Horde, some humans who have been, some human factions who are starting to sniff around the place. I can tell you, of course, that at least one of them is the Supper Club. Because Vance was not the be all and end all of the Supper Club's involvement in the city.
Yeah.
And there is an entire section of NPCs. There's 9 new NPCs from various angelic missions and human factions that have their own plot hooks attached to them. There's a bunch of new relics.
Ooh.
So not counting the relics that the angels detailed in the NPCs section
Mhm.
have on them, which you can try to wrest from them if you dare. There's also 5 more relics. That are just lying around, or that someone's got their hands on, that you can try and grab from them. And lastly, there's a whole page or so, a page and a bit of just story hooks.
Mhm.
So seeds that you can use to start your own angelic adventures. All revolving around, secrets that the missions might be holding, secrets that various human factions might be holding. Um, secrets that neither of them are holding, and maybe it's demons, or maybe it's something even more mysterious, or maybe it's ghosts. Um, but there is a lot that we've managed to pack into an Angel's Guide to Vegas, and I'm very much looking forward to everyone getting their hands on it.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, as we're going to go ahead and wrap up this episode of Short Rest, is there any last words that you want people to know about the game, about you, and where we can find you all online?
Sure. So you can find Relics online at the Tin Star Games website. tinstargames.com, all one word. You can find out more about Relics there as well. Relics is on DriveThru RPG. It is on itch, though Steve prefers you get it from DriveThru.
Mhm.
Angel's Guide to Las Vegas will be coming out alongside By Demons Driven, not long after we get the core books, which are being printed at the moment in China.
Yeah.
So in Hong Kong. That Chinese publisher has assured us there'll be no significant changes in the timetable, but at this point, we're estimating it'll still take a minimum of 6 to 8 weeks to get the book delivered to our offices, even if everything goes right. PDF supplements should be out within a few weeks of that happening. The books will be worth the wait. I mean, what you're seeing from the PDF right now, I've worked a lot on the PDF. I've seen it evolved, and it as I've been saying, as I haven't stopped saying since it came out, it's gorgeous. So once you have the book in your hands, and once you have the Relics Tarot deck in your hands, you'll have the Angel's Guide to Las Vegas and By Demons Driven not long after that. They are both definitely something to be looking forward to.
Awesome.
And you can find me personally online on Twitter at Jake J Nelson.
Mhm.
Steve is on Twitter at Tinstar Games. And I hope you all, all of our listeners, go out, as we say in the closing words of Relics. Go out, play games, change the world, and be gods, because we believe in you.
Yes.
Oh, that's fantastic. And for everybody watching, thank you so much for watching. If you like what you have watched, I hope you will consider subscribing to us right above, well, a little bit above my head is where that subscribe button is. Go ahead and click on that. If you are watching on our YouTube page, go ahead and click down here on the bottom. Mitch, what do we have coming up tomorrow?
Well, so we got a few things coming up. So in about a couple of hours, we will be doing a one-shot of Alien, the role-playing game, at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure to check that out with the LARP group. Tomorrow, of course, we are hopping back into Age of Ashes Pathfinder 2E, which is going to be amazing as always. You'll get to see Spence, and I believe they have some puppies for you to check out. So
I have work puppies now, guys.
More puppies.
I'm so excited.
And of course, Monday is a continuation of Alex's new Star Wars campaign. And then the following day, Tuesday, we have a special show with our friends from Babies with Knives. If that is not the coolest title of a show, I don't know what is. Where we will be, where we will have one of the writers from the Genesis Rebirth, Kyle Wiley, over GMing a one-shot for us. So make sure to check out on Facebook as well as the website for an updated schedule. And we look forward to kind of seeing everyone again.
And if you're still wanting to watch some Twitch goodness, in about an hour, half an hour, maybe, I will be going onto my Twitch channel, Resonant Moon, and we'll be crocheting another bird. Not necessarily this one, but that's what we're going to do. So you can watch that before you go and watch the Alien RPG.
Yeah, they're linked.
Yeah, I'll make an alien one day.
Yes.
So, Jakes, thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you so much for having me. It has been great getting to talk Relics and Vegas and Relics in Vegas.
Yeah.
It is one of my favorite monuments to the opulence and hubris of mankind on Earth.
Yeah.
Vegas, not Relics.
Yeah. I was like, which one? Both is great.
Both is good. All right. Well, thanks, guys. So see you back here at 8 o'clock Eastern time. And until then, play more games.